Listen carefully, because what you're about to hear will instantly make you rethink half the people in your life. Let me ask you something. How many people have you saved? Who would never do the same for you? Think about it. You pick them up every time they fall. You fix the mess they create. You sacrifice sleep, time, money, and mental peace, hoping they will finally change. But they don't change. They don't grow. They don't even feel grateful. And here's the painful truth. Most people never admit. You are not helping them. You are enabling them. You are feeding their weakness. You are killing your own strength. Machiavelli understood something most people today are too afraid to face. Helping the wrong person is more dangerous than having an enemy. An enemy challenges you, but the wrong person drains you, slowly, quietly, without guilt, without limits. Think back to the last time you helped someone who was drowning in their own chaos. Did they rise? Or did they pull you deeper with them? You already know the answer. And here's the dark psychological twist. The more you save a person who refuses to save themselves, the more they begin to believe your help is their right. They stop respecting you. They stop listening to you. They stop valuing you. Because in their mind, if you keep saving them, then you must owe them something. This is how good people lose power. This is how strong people burn out. This is how kind people get used, drained, and betrayed. But today, that ends. Because in this video, you're going to learn the 7 types of people Machiavelli warns you must never help. Not because you're cruel, but because they will destroy your time, your energy, your reputation, and your future. And at the end, you'll know exactly who deserves your help and who deserves distance. Before we continue, I want you to drop a simple affirmation in the comments. My energy is not free. Number 1, the chronically lazy. There's a kind of person you must recognize instantly if you want to protect your power. The chronically lazy, not the tired, not the overwhelmed, not the people going through real struggles. I'm talking about individuals who have turned laziness into a lifestyle. People who can work, but won't. People who can take responsibility, but choose excuses instead. People who wake up every day and make the same silent decision. Someone else will carry me. These are the people Machiavelli would warn you about immediately, because they don't look dangerous. They don't shout. They don't attack. They simply drain you, with softness, with dependency, with endless reasons why they can't do anything today. And the dangerous part? They look harmless, but they cost you your time, your mental energy, and eventually, your respect for yourself. Chronically lazy people have mastered one skill, the art of escaping effort. Ask them about their dreams. Oh, they have many. Ask them what they're doing today. Suddenly they have excuses. Their past was difficult. People didn't support them. Luck wasn't on their side. The world is unfair. These excuses form the perfect shield that keeps them safe from responsibility. But here's what makes them truly dangerous. They don't want progress. They want comfort. And your effort becomes their comfort. They don't use your help as a stepping stone. They use it as a sofa, a pillow, a hammock where they can relax while you do the heavy lifting. You think you're supporting them. They think you're doing their job. Machiavelli once said, "He who is not willing to act does not deserve the fruit of action." If someone won't lift even one small stone in their own life, you should never carry boulders for them. A struggler will show movement, slow, small, but real. The chronically lazy. They show nothing but stories, promises, and complaints. You can test them with a single question. What are you doing right now to improve your situation? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not next month, right now. If the answer is silence, stories, or circular excuses, you're dealing with a professional victim, not a struggler. And here's the harsh truth. If you keep helping them, you destroy the one thing they desperately need: hunger. Without hunger, there is no drive. Without discomfort, there is no change. Without consequences, there is no growth. When you rescue them every time, you rob them of their ability to stand. And ironically, they will resent you for being able to do what they can't. Your strength becomes their jealousy. Your discipline becomes their insecurity. Your success becomes their silent reminder of their own inaction. This is why helping them is not kindness. It's self-sacrifice with zero return. They won't rise. They won't improve. They won't suddenly become responsible. Because laziness is not their condition. It's their identity. And if you carry them long enough, they will begin to believe they deserve to be carried. So step back. Let life's weight rest on their shoulders for once. It's the only thing that teaches them what your help never will. Before we go to number 2, drop this affirmation in the comments. I release dead weight. Number 2, the perpetually ungrateful. There is a kind of person who can make even the strongest, kindest, most generous human feel small, drained, and invisible. They don't attack you. They don't argue loudly. They do something far more subtle and far more damaging. They never appreciate anything. These are the perpetually ungrateful, people who turn your generosity into a routine, your sacrifice into an expectation, and your kindness into their comfort zone. They don't recognize your effort. They don't acknowledge your intention, and they definitely don't value the time, resources, or emotional labor you give. Ungrateful people operate with one core belief. You owe me. You give them support. They expect more. You show up for them. They assume you will always show up. You go out of your way to ease their life. They immediately forget how difficult it was for you. The danger here is subtle but deadly. Ungrateful people don't drain you through need. They drain you through entitlement. You see, when someone is truly thankful, their gratitude fuels your desire to continue helping. But when someone feels entitled, your help does nothing but feed their ego. They don't remember your sacrifices. They only notice the moments you don't show up. Machiavelli once said, "Men forget the good easily, but they remember the good they expected but never received." And this is exactly how the ungrateful behave. They erase every good moment you've given them and focus sharply on the smallest thing you didn't. They don't see your help as a gift. They see it as their birthright. And once a person believes your effort is their right, your value in their life begins to fall. Because in their mind, if you give easily, you must not value what you're giving. This is the psychology that destroys relationships, families, friendships, and partnerships. Ungrateful people make you question your worth. Not because you're not doing enough, but because they're incapable of seeing what you already gave. They don't say thank you because they believe they deserve more. They don't acknowledge your help because they think it was the least you could do. They don't celebrate your support because they expect you to continue supporting without limits. And here's the saddest part. Ungrateful people upgrade their demands faster than you can upgrade your kindness. Give them a little, they want more. Give them a lot, they still want more. Give them everything. They complain that something is missing. You cannot win with them. You cannot satisfy them. You cannot build loyalty through generosity, because to the ungrateful, generosity is just an opportunity to take more without giving anything back. Your resources gone, your time wasted, your emotional energy exhausted, your return zero. And when you finally pull back, they won't reflect, They won't apologize. They won't realize their part. Instead, they will act offended. They will say, "You changed." They will act like the victim. This is why helping them is a losing game. You give up strength, and they give back bitterness. You give support, and they give back entitlement. Let them go. You do not exist to fill empty people who refuse to see your value. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My kindness has boundaries. Number 3. The arrogant and self-righteous. There is a type of person who doesn't need help, doesn't want guidance, and doesn't benefit from wisdom, because in their mind, they already know everything. These are the arrogant and self-righteous, people who walk through life wearing a crown they never earned. They are not confident, they are not strong, they are not wise, they are simply in love with the sound of their own opinions. You can spot them easily. They interrupt every explanation. They correct others without understanding the full story. They reject advice before they even hear it. And most importantly, they mistake stubbornness for intelligence. Trying to help them feels like talking to a wall, but the wall argues back. These people aren't searching for growth. They're searching for validation. They don't want the truth. They want confirmation that they're right. And if you dare challenge their beliefs, even gently, they don't question their ideas. They question you. This is why helping them always backfires, because every piece of advice you offer threatens the one thing they worship, their ego. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge more by the eye than by the mind," and self-righteous people are the perfect example. They care more about how they appear, wise, superior, knowledgeable, than whether their decisions actually make sense. When you try to guide them, you're not fighting ignorance. You're fighting pride wrapped in certainty. Arrogant people fear one thing more than failure, being proven wrong. They will hold on to a sinking ship just to avoid admitting they made a bad choice. They will defend a terrible plan simply because it was their plan. They will reject logic if that logic threatens their inflated self-image. And here's where the danger comes in. If you help them and things go right, they take all the credit. If you help them and things go wrong, they blame you. There is no winning position with someone who thinks they are above correction. They are emotionally allergic to humility. They see reflection as weakness. They see learning as admitting failure, and they see your guidance as an insult, not a gift. People like this don't grow until life hits them harder than your advice ever could. They need consequences powerful enough to crack their pride. They need silence deep enough to expose their own limitations. They need reality to humble them in ways no person can. And you? Your job is not to fight their ego. Your job is to step aside and stop wasting energy on someone who blocks every doorway you open. When you stop helping them, you protect your dignity, you protect your time, you protect your emotional strength, and you let life become the teacher they actually need. Because here's the truth. The arrogant cannot hear wisdom until their pride breaks, and you're not the one who should break it. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I protect my peace. Number 4. The habitually wicked. Some people make mistakes. Some lose their way for a moment. Some fall into temptation because they're human. Those people deserve guidance, correction, and sometimes forgiveness. But then, there is a different breed entirely. The habitually wicked. These are not people who slipped once. These are people who treat cruelty, deception, and harm as a lifestyle. It's not an accident. It's not a phase. It's who they have chosen to be. The habitually wicked don't just break rules. They enjoy breaking them. They don't just lie. They polish the lie until it looks like truth. They don't just manipulate. They refine manipulation until it feels natural. You can see it in their patterns. Every relationship they touch ends in damage. Every opportunity they receive turns into chaos. Every person who helps them eventually regrets it. Their talent isn't growth. It's destruction. What makes them so dangerous is that they often appear charming, confident, persuasive, even charismatic. They know exactly how to mask their intentions. They can act sweet, humble, wounded, responsible, whatever they need to be in the moment. But underneath the performance lies the same core: self-interest without conscience. Machiavelli once said, "A man who causes harm will do so whenever it is useful for him." And this describes the habitually wicked perfectly. If betraying you benefits them, they won't hesitate. If using your resources makes their life easier, they'll take everything. If dragging you into their darkness saves them from consequences, they will do it without guilt. Helping them is not kindness, it's collaboration. Every cent you give them becomes fuel for their next destructive act. Every opportunity you open becomes a weapon they will eventually use against someone. Sometimes even against you. And here is the part that people ignore until it's too late. When you help the wicked, you inherit their consequences. When they lie, your name gets mentioned. When they cheat, you're seen as someone close to them. When they fall, you fall with them. Not because you helped, but because you stood close enough to look like an accomplice. Your reputation is currency. And the wicked bankrupt anyone who stands beside them. Even worse, they feel no remorse, no reflection, no guilt. They don't apologize, they justify. They don't regret the damage, they regret getting caught. They don't fix their behavior, they simply search for their next opportunity and their next helper. You cannot heal a person who doesn't see themselves as broken. You cannot guide someone who believes morality is optional. You cannot protect someone who enjoys creating chaos. The best way to deal with the habitually wicked is not redemption. It's distance, cold, unapologetic distance. Cutting them off is not cruelty, it's self-defense. It's wisdom, it's survival. And remember, when someone chooses evil again and again, helping them does not make you good. It makes you a tool in their destruction. Before we continue, drop this affirmation in the comments. I refuse to aid darkness. Number 5. The incurably foolish. There is a person you cannot save, no matter how much knowledge, guidance, or experience you pour into them. These are not the ignorant. These are not the inexperienced. These are the incurably foolish. People who refuse to learn from their mistakes, no matter how obvious, painful, or repeated. You see, a fool is not defined by lack of intelligence. A fool is defined by stubborn refusal to grow. They have all the opportunities, all the resources, and all the advice in the world, but they ignore it. They ignore it because they believe they know better. They ignore it because they're addicted to the comfort of repeating failure. Every crisis, every error, every downfall teaches a lesson, but the incurably foolish refuse to be students of reality. You can pull them out of one disaster, and they will march straight into the next, exactly the same way, thinking they are untouchable. Machiavelli once said, "Experience is the teacher of all things, but only to those who are willing to learn." And the incurably foolish are unwilling students. They treat every failure like someone else's fault. They rationalize every mistake as a result of circumstance, luck, or the world's unfairness. Never once do they turn the mirror inward. Your role with them is deceptively dangerous. Every time you step in to fix their problems, you are not saving them. You are repeating their cycle. You are reinforcing their belief that someone else will always carry the consequences of their actions. You are not helping them grow. You are enabling their folly. The pattern is always the same. You give advice. You provide guidance. You offer support. They nod, maybe even promise to change. And then, the moment you are not looking, they repeat the same mistake. This is the cruelest truth about dealing with fools. Your words, your time, your energy, every effort is wasted. Not because they cannot learn, but because they refuse to learn. And here's the subtle danger that most people overlook. When you continue to save them, you drain your own life force. You exhaust your patience, you weaken your boundaries, and you risk dragging yourself into their recurring chaos. Machiavelli's wisdom here is sharp and direct. He who continually rescues the foolish only binds himself to their misfortune. The incurably foolish will never thank you. They will never respect you. They will never grow into the person you hope they will become. The only way to protect yourself and to let reality teach them is to step back. Let them face the natural consequences of their actions. Let them feel the sting of failure, the discomfort of mistakes, and the isolation that comes from repeating folly. Only then, if ever, they might recognize the lessons that your guidance could never make them see. It is not cruelty to stop rescuing them. It is discipline. It is wisdom. It is survival. Remember, your role is not to carry the unteachable. It is to invest in growth, in learning, and in those who are willing to evolve. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I release those who refuse to learn. Number 6. The Master Manipulator. Some people don't ask for help. Not directly, not honestly. They don't say, I need your time, your advice, your energy. Instead, they weave invisible strings around you, pulling you without your consent. These are the master manipulators. They are skilled artists of human emotion, painting stories that trigger guilt, pity, and obligation. They don't just ask, they engineer. They don't just tell, they perform. A master manipulator understands your mind better than you understand it yourself. They know your weaknesses, your desires, your principles, and they craft every word, every action, every glance to move you exactly where they want. Sometimes they appear helpless, innocent, in need of rescue. Sometimes they appear strong, misunderstood, a victim of the world. Sometimes they switch roles mid-conversation, just to test which version of themselves gets your attention, your sympathy, your compliance. Machiavelli once said, men are driven by two things, fear and desire. To control them, one must understand both. Master manipulators exploit this truth relentlessly. They understand your desire to help, to save, to be kind. They understand your fear of conflict, of being seen as cruel, of being judged. And they turn it into their playground. Every favor you give, every compromise you make, every moment you invest. They record it as currency, a debt they never intend to repay. They don't appreciate your effort. They exploit it. They don't respect your boundaries. They test them constantly. And if you ever resist, if you ever withdraw, they turn the story against you. Suddenly, you are the villain. Suddenly, your strength is selfishness. Suddenly, the problem lies entirely with you. The subtlety is the danger. A master manipulator doesn't scream. They don't attack openly. They operate silently, invisibly twisting the narrative until your own energy becomes theirs. The lesson here is brutal but necessary. You cannot save a manipulator. You cannot reason with them. You cannot convince them to act in your favor. Your only real power lies in cutting the supply. Your attention, your energy, your approval. Once you stop responding, once you stop reacting, once you refuse to play their emotional games, they move on. They find a new source, a new person to drain, a new person to twist. And that is precisely why Machiavelli's advice applies. The wise ruler avoids giving power to those who will use it to destroy him. Master manipulators will never value your generosity. They will never respect your boundaries. They will never act with loyalty or gratitude. Your responsibility is not to teach them lessons. Your responsibility is to protect yourself. Withdraw calmly, decisively, and without guilt. Your energy is not theirs to take. Your kindness is not their right. Your life is not their playground. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I take back my power. Number 7. The unrepentant rebel. There are people who know the rules and choose to break them anyway. They understand right from wrong, success from failure, discipline from chaos, and yet they deliberately defy every standard. These are the unrepentant rebels, not lost souls, not confused wanderers, not those who are unaware of consequences. These are individuals at war with reality itself. They see the line, and their greatest pleasure is crossing it. They know the limits, and their instinct is to push further. They understand the stakes, and still they gamble recklessly. You can give them advice. You can offer them wisdom. You can pull them back from disaster, and they will smile, nod politely, and continue exactly as before. The unrepentant rebel doesn't change because someone else tries to change them. They change only when they tire of their own chaos. And that exhaustion is never brought by your intervention. Machiavelli once said, "A wise ruler must know when to use force and when to let the inevitable unfold." And this is the principle with unrepentant rebels. Your help cannot force insight. Your guidance cannot force growth. Your sacrifice cannot force responsibility. Every effort you make to save them is inverted, turned against you. Your time becomes a resource they exploit. Your patience becomes a tool for their rebellion. Your loyalty becomes their expectation. And the more you fight for them, the less they fight for themselves. The unrepentant rebel thrives on attention, on resistance, on the energy others expend trying to correct them. They enjoy watching people exhaust themselves on causes they will never honor. They take satisfaction in knowing that the world bends around their whims, while consequences are someone else's problem. Here's the harsh truth. You cannot fight someone else's defiance with mercy or effort. You cannot impose change from the outside. You can only observe and protect yourself. When dealing with the unrepentant rebel, your first responsibility is your own boundaries. Do not confuse endurance with strength. Do not confuse intervention with love. Do not confuse sacrifice with progress. Let reality, not your efforts, teach them the lesson they refuse to learn. Let natural consequences weigh in. Let the discomfort of the repeated choices become the teacher you cannot be. And remember, this does not make you cold. This makes you wise. This makes you strategic. This makes you untouchable. The unrepentant rebel is a storm. You can't stop the storm, and you can't change the storm. You can, however, take shelter and preserve your strength. You can decide where to stand and when to withdraw. You can ensure that when the storm passes, you remain intact, and they remain in the chaos they chose. Drop this affirmation in the comments, "I protect my path." What you should do instead. Now that you've seen the 7 types of people Machiavelli warns you must never help, it's time to step back and ask yourself a hard question. Are you helping the right people, or are you pouring your energy into those who will never value it? Here's the cold, unfiltered truth. Mercy without judgment is not kindness. It's self-destruction. Every minute, every resource, every ounce of energy you spend on the wrong person is taken from your own growth, power, and stability. But discernment doesn't make you cruel. It makes you wise. It makes you strategic. It allows you to focus on those who are willing to rise, who are willing to learn, and who are willing to face consequences in order to become stronger. Step 1. Know the difference between struggle and choice. A person who is genuinely struggling, someone doing everything they can despite circumstances, deserves your help. A person who has made a choice to remain lazy, arrogant, manipulative, or rebellious, someone who enjoys repeating mistakes, does not. Your responsibility is not to fix choices that were consciously made. Your responsibility is to protect yourself from the consequences of those choices. Step 2. Redefine compassion. True compassion is not always pulling someone out of the fire. Sometimes it's letting them burn. Sometimes it's letting them face discomfort so they finally see the truth. True compassion is knowing when your help will teach and when it will only enable. It is giving energy where it grows and withholding energy where it destroys. Step 3. Protect your resources. Time, attention, money, and emotional energy are not infinite. They are your power. And a wise person invests only where there is loyalty, growth, and transformation. Helping the wrong people is like planting seeds in barren soil. You water, nurture, and care, but nothing grows. And in the meantime, your own garden withers. Step 4. Set boundaries decisively. Say no without guilt. Withdraw without drama. Step back without hesitation. When you stop enabling, you stop being a tool for their chaos. When you step back, you give reality a chance to teach them the lessons they refused to learn from you. Step 5. Invest in the right people. Notice those who are hungry for growth. Notice those who face their mistakes. Notice those who fight for themselves, even when it's uncomfortable. These are the people who will respect your help, who will rise, and who will eventually help others in return. This is how influence multiplies. This is how loyalty is built. Finally, ask yourself these piercing questions. Who am I helping right now that I actually need to let go? Who am I constantly rescuing? Who actually needs to face their own consequences? Who am I enabling? Who should be allowed to experience the weight of their actions? Machiavelli would say, "Mercy without judgment is not kindness, it is self-destruction." And that is the ultimate lesson. Your strength, your energy, your wisdom are weapons, and you must use them wisely. Before you go, drop this affirmation in the comments. I invest in growth, not destruction. If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone who always helps everyone and ends up exhausted. Like this video if it gave you clarity. Subscribe for more Machiavellian breakdowns of human nature, power, and strategy. Remember, helping the wrong person is a trap. Helping the right person is your path to influence, respect, and unstoppable power.